Hey guys, so today I thought we'd make a fabric book. So this is the first one I've ever actually made. So what you'll need is the fabric. It comes already printed and shaped like this. This is a 6 panel. So what you need to do is cut out each panel. Now it doesn't really matter your precision here. You can just cut down the middle if you want. I choose to cut them down into smaller pieces first. So when you're done, you'll have 6 smaller pages for the book. Now you can see that I'm ironing them out, and I choose to do this so that they're nice and flat and crisp. Do this for every page. Now, if you're buying the fabric right from the fabric store, you probably won't need to iron it as much as I did. I've had mine for a few years. It was donated to me, and now actually while this is ironing, on the bottom of every panel, there's actually step-by-step instructions on how to put this book together, which pages to line up together. So I'm just showing you the assembly part. When I go through, I don't go in detail of which page goes with which because that'll be written at the bottom of your sheet. So now I take my cutter, my rotary cutter, and my ruler, and I cut about 3 millimeters from the line. Now, it doesn't need to be a straight cut because the picture that's printed on the fabric isn't always a perfect straight line. You'll see here at the top there, see how it's kind of curves. That's not the angle of the camera, that's actually how the fabric was. So you do this for each side, all 6 panels. Now you might have noticed already your cover panel and your first page panel are a little bigger than your middle pages, and this is just so that the book will nicely fold into each other. So there you have all 6. So I'm going to take my cover. Now your polyfill, I chose to use the polyfill for when I'm making placemats. I like it, it's thicker, it's better. You can use whatever kind you want. Now you don't need to go and measure this perfectly out. I just lay on top and cut it. So now with the right side up, you don't put right sides together here. It's right side up because all we're doing is we're going to base stitch the polyfill to the fabric. Now I like to pin all the way around so when I'm sewing there's no fabric shift. Now I'm using a base stitch. A number 6 straight stitch is what my machine does. And it should look like this. Now you do not need to back stitch because our stitches will be overlapping each other. And again, it's a base stitch, so just straight stitch all the way down on all 4 sides. I prefer to sew over pins depending on the project, really. It's not good for your machine, but again, I'm just base stitching all my sides. And I'm actually using my presser foot as my seam guide allowance. You can see how it lines up at the edge. This is because I want to get as closely to the edge as possible without, because these stitches will be hidden once we stitch the book together. Now remove all your pins, and you do this for all 6. Well, no, actually you only do this for all 3. So now I'm going to line up my first page and last page, right sides together now. Now there is a guide where to leave it open. Now I like to make sure all the corners of the pictures are lined up. You'll see I'm doing the short side first, and I'm pinning my corners, and then I'm going to put a couple in the middle. Then I'm going to flip over, line up my corners again, and put another couple pins in the middle. Now I like to line up the middle corner of the pictures and then pin. Now this is the side that I'm not leaving open, so I just go all the way. Now for the side you're leaving open, I like to pin on either side so I don't lose track of where I gotta leave it open. And now I'm matching my corners of the pictures and pinning the middle. So once you have this, you go to your sewing machine, and now I use that little black line and my presser foot as my guide, and I start where the opening needs to be. And for here you do need a back stitch at the opening, but then you can go right off the edge because they're going to overlap each other. Again, I'm using the little black line as my guide, and I'm lining it up with my presser foot. I do this for all sides. This project could be made in less than an hour, I'd say. So perfect nap time project. Now for that stitch I was using a 2.5 straight stitch, and now I'm going to cut off as closely to that stitch as possible. You could use your rotary cutter for this and your ruler, or you use your rotary cutter and your ruler for this. I just choose to kind of eyeball it and guide along with my fingers. If you have those gloves for protection, that they work great because you don't want to cut your fingers. Those blades are sharp. Now I cut all 4 corners as closely without going over the stitch. You can see the overlapping of the stitches, and you just cut away that little corner. This avoids any bulkiness in the corners. Just cut off. Do this for all 3. So you have 6 panels into 3 sections. Now turn right side in, right side out. I like to go to the opposite corner and pull through. And then I actually have a bamboo stick that's been smoothed on one end, and I use that to poke out the corners so that they're nice and crisp. Do this for all 3 pages. And then go back to your pressing board and press. I like to do this because it smooths all the pages out and makes the crease kind of stay out on the edges. Now you could top stitch this after, but I choose not to. So I take my middle 2 pages and I stitch down the middle. Then I add my cover page and stitch, and using my first stitch as my guide. This is just for my preference. You could stitch all 3 together, and there you have your book, and you just need to hand stitch closed your openings. Now I use a needle and a thread, and I start on the inside and I alternate sides with small stitches lining up right beside each other, and do this until the stitch is closed. The hole is closed. There you have. You can barely see it. And there you have your fabric book. These are perfect little books. And again, made in less than an hour.